I remember the exact moment I realized I had wasted my entire life. It wasn't when the car slid off the road. It wasn't when I lay dying in the snow. It wasn't even when I fell in love with a man whose name I never thought to ask. It was 6 months later, standing in a coffee shop in a tiny mountain town, staring at peaks I couldn't navigate, searching for a cabin I would never find. My name is Eva Castillo. I am 32 years old. I am a senior partner at one of the most prestigious law firms in the country. And I am completely, utterly, irreparably lost. Let me start at the beginning. I was born to succeed. Not in the inspirational, follow your dreams kind of way. In the relentless, crushing, no other option kind of way. My mother was a first-generation immigrant who cleaned houses for wealthy families. My father left before I was born. We lived in a one-bedroom apartment in a neighborhood where gunshots were more common than birdsong. Education is the only way out, my mother would say. Every night, every morning, every single moment of my childhood. So I studied. I studied when other kids played. I studied when other teenagers went to parties. I studied when other young women fell in love and made mistakes and learned what it meant to be human. I didn't have time for humanity. I had a mission. Harvard Law at 22. Top of my class. Law review. Every honor they could give me. I joined Morrison and Associates straight out of school, the most prestigious corporate law firm on the East Coast, and I never looked back. Associate at 24. Senior associate at 27. Junior partner at 29. Senior partner at 31. The youngest in the firm's history. The first woman of color to hold that position. A success story by every metric that mattered. And completely, profoundly, alone. I didn't notice at first. Or maybe I noticed and didn't care. There was always another case. Another client. Another mountain to climb. I told myself that relationships were distractions. That personal life could wait until I had achieved everything I set out to achieve. That happiness was something you earned after you proved your worth. I was 31 years old. I had a corner office with a view of the city skyline. I had more money than my mother had ever dreamed of. I had everything I had ever wanted. And I had nothing at all. The call came on a Thursday afternoon. December. The kind of gray day that makes you forget the sun exists. Eva, we have a problem. It was Marcus, one of our junior associates, calling from a small town in the mountains. A mining company, one of our biggest clients, had a situation that needed handling. Environmental issues. Community backlash. The kind of delicate negotiation that could make or break a billion-dollar deal. I've tried everything, Marcus said. His voice was shaky, uncertain. Everything mine had never been allowed to be. The town council won't budge. The community leaders won't meet with me. I think I'm in over my head. I looked at my calendar. Meetings stacked on meetings. Deadlines stacked on deadlines. A life so full there was no room for anything unexpected. I'll be there tomorrow, I said. But Eva, there's a storm coming. A big one. The roads. I'll be there tomorrow. I hung up before he could argue. Because that's what I did. I solved problems. I didn't let obstacles stop me. I had never failed at anything in my entire life. I didn't intend to start now. The drive should have taken 6 hours. By hour 4, I knew I had made a mistake. The snow started slowly, gentle flakes drifting across my windshield, almost beautiful in the way they caught the fading light. Then it intensified. Within 30 minutes, I couldn't see more than 10 feet in front of my car. My GPS lost signal somewhere in the mountains. My phone, useless. No bars. No data. No connection to the world I had built my entire life around. I should have turned back. I should have found a motel and waited out the storm. But I didn't. Because Eva Castillo didn't turn back. Eva Castillo pushed through. Eva Castillo conquered. That's who I was. That's all I knew how to be. The road curved unexpectedly. I turned the wheel. Too fast. Too sharp. The car began to slide. I felt the back end swing out, felt the tires lose their grip on the icy pavement, felt the sickening moment of weightlessness as the vehicle left the road entirely. Time slowed down. I saw the ridge approaching. I saw the trees rushing past. I saw my entire life, every achievement, every sacrifice, every lonely night in my corner office, flash before my eyes in a single instant. And then, impact. I don't know how long I was unconscious. Minutes. Hours. Long enough for the cold to seep into my bones. Long enough for the snow to begin covering the wreckage of my car. Long enough for death to start feeling like a reasonable option. I woke up to pain. My left arm, broken. My ribs, cracked. Blood on my face from a gash on my forehead. And cold. God, the cold. It was everywhere. Inside me. Around me. Consuming me. I tried to move, tried to climb out of the wreckage, but my body wouldn't cooperate. The car had rolled, settled on its side against a tree, the driver's door pinned shut. I was trapped. Bleeding. Freezing. Dying. I don't remember much of what came next. Fragments. Images. The snow falling through the shattered windshield. The darkness creeping in at the edges of my vision. The absolute silence of the mountains, broken only by the wind and my own ragged breathing. I thought about my mother, about how she would find out. A phone call from some anonymous official. Ms. Castillo, we regret to inform you. All those years of sacrifice. All those years of pushing me toward success. And it would end like this. Alone. In a frozen car. On a road I never should have been on. I started to cry. For the first time in years. I let myself cry. Not for the life I was losing, but for the life I had never lived. And then, footsteps. At first, I thought I was hallucinating. The crunch of snow. The sound of movement. But the sound grew closer. Louder. Real. A figure appeared through the blowing snow. Tall. Broad-shouldered. Moving with the certainty of someone who knew these mountains intimately. He reached the car. Looked down at me through the shattered windshield. His face was weathered, lined by years of sun and wind, partially obscured by a heavy beard. His eyes were dark, unreadable, the eyes of someone who had seen things I couldn't imagine. Can you move? His voice was rough. Low. The first human voice I had heard in hours. My arm. I managed. Broken. I know. I'll have to pull you out. It's going to hurt. Wait, who are you? Where did you? Later. Right now, you're dying. We need to move. He didn't wait for permission. He reached through the windshield, wrapped his arms around me, and pulled. The pain was extraordinary. White hot. Blinding. I screamed, or maybe I just thought I screamed, and then the cold air hit my face and I knew I was outside. He lifted me like I weighed nothing, cradled me against his chest. Started walking. Where are we going? I whispered. My cabin. It's not far. How did you find me? I heard the crash. Sound carries in these mountains. He didn't say anything else. Just walked. Steady. Sure. Carrying me through the storm like it was nothing. Like saving dying women from frozen cars was just another Tuesday. I wanted to ask more questions. I wanted to understand what was happening. But the cold had taken too much. The pain had taken more. And somewhere in the darkness, I let go. I woke up in warmth. That was the first thing I noticed. After hours of cold, the warmth was almost unbearable. A fire crackling somewhere nearby. Heavy blankets piled on top of me. The smell of wood smoke and pine. I opened my eyes. A cabin. Small. Rustic. The kind of place that belonged in a different century. Log walls. A stone fireplace. Shelves lined with books and canned goods. No electricity that I could see. No modern amenities. Just simplicity. I tried to sit up and immediately regretted it. My ribs screamed. My arm, now splinted and bound, throbbed with every heartbeat. Don't move. He was sitting in a chair by the fire, watching me. Those dark eyes still unreadable. Your arm is set, but it needs time. Your ribs are bruised, maybe cracked. You lost blood from the head wound. You need to rest. How long have I been out? 2 days. 2 days. I try to process that. My phone. I need to contact. There's no phone here. No signal for 50 miles. And even if there was, you're not going anywhere until the storm passes. When will that be? He looked toward the window. Nothing but white. Weeks. Maybe longer. Weeks. The word hit me like a physical blow. Weeks trapped in this cabin. Weeks away from my clients, my cases, my life. I can't. I have responsibilities. People are depending on me. Right now, the only thing you need to do is heal. He stood up, walked to a small stove in the corner, ladled something into a bowl, brought it to me. Eat. You need strength. I looked at the bowl. Some kind of stew. I looked at him. This stranger who had saved my life. This man who I knew nothing about. Who are you? He didn't answer. Just placed the bowl in my good hand and walked back to his chair by the fire. Eat, he said again. And, because I had no other choice, I did. The first week was the hardest. Not because of the pain, though the pain was constant. Not because of the isolation, though the silence was deafening. But because I didn't know how to stop. My whole life had been motion. Forward momentum. The relentless pursuit of the next goal. And now, trapped in this cabin, I had nothing to pursue. Nothing to achieve. Nothing to do but lie there and heal. I tried to fill the silence with questions. What's your name? Nothing. How long have you lived out here? A shrug. Why are you here? What happened to you? Those dark eyes, flickering to mine, then away. Everyone has their reasons. That was all he would give me. He spoke in fragments. Short sentences. Minimal words. Like language was something he had learned to ration, to conserve, like everything else in this sparse existence. At first, it drove me crazy. I was a lawyer. Words were my weapons. Conversation was my battlefield. Silence felt like failure. But slowly, reluctantly, I began to adapt. He took care of me with a gentleness that surprised me. Changed my bandages without being asked. Helped me to the bathroom when I was too weak to walk alone. Made sure I ate, even when I had no appetite. His hands were rough, calloused from years of physical work, but his touch was careful, almost tender. I found myself watching him. The way he moved through the small space. The way he tended the fire. The way he would stand at the window sometimes, staring at the snow, lost in thoughts I couldn't access. He was handsome. I noticed that somewhere around day 4. Not in the polished, cultivated way of the men I knew in the city. Not the expensive haircuts and tailored suits and carefully maintained appearances. Something rougher. More real. A face that had been shaped by weather and time and experiences I couldn't imagine. Late 30s, maybe, possibly older. It was hard to tell. By the second week, I was stronger. I could move around the cabin, help with small tasks, watch him work. He chopped wood every morning, checked the traps he had set in the forest, cooked meals from supplies he had stored. A completely self-sufficient existence. No dependence on anyone or anything outside these walls. I found myself fascinated and increasingly attracted. It had been so long since I had felt anything like desire. So long since I had allowed myself to want anything that wasn't on my carefully planned path. But here, in this cabin, with no cases to prepare, no clients to impress, no identity to maintain, I felt things I had forgotten I was capable of feeling. It started with small touches. My hand brushing his when he passed me a cup of tea. My fingers lingering on his arm when he helped me stand. Nothing overt. Nothing aggressive. Just contact. Connection. He noticed. Of course he noticed. Those dark eyes saw everything. But he didn't respond. Didn't encourage. Didn't reciprocate. Just continued his routines, his silences, his careful distance. One evening, about 10 days in, I decided to be direct. I had never been good at subtlety anyway. I want you. He was sitting by the fire, reading a worn paperback by candlelight. His eyes lifted to mine. No, you don't. Don't tell me what I want. You're injured. You're isolated. You're grateful I saved your life. That's not want. That's confusion. I'm 31 years old. I've been confused before. This isn't that. He closed the book. Set it aside. You don't know anything about me. Then tell me. I can't. Can't or won't. Does it matter? I felt frustration rising in my chest. I've spent my entire life pursuing things. Goals. Achievements. I've never pursued a person before. I don't know how to do this. How to want something I can't strategize my way into getting. But I know what I feel. And I'm feeling it right now. For you. He was quiet for a long moment. The fire crackled. The wind howled outside. Then he stood. Walked to the door. Pulled on his coat. I need to check the woodpile. And he walked out into the snow, leaving me alone with my embarrassment and my longing. He rejected me 3 more times over the next several days. Each time, gently. Each time, firmly. Each time, making me want him more. I didn't understand it. I was used to men wanting me. Not because I was vain, but because it was simply true. In my world, power was attractive. Success was seductive. Men pursued me constantly, colleagues, clients, rivals. I had always been the one doing the rejecting. This, being on the other side, it was disorienting. And strangely, exhilarating. Why do you keep saying no? It was the end of the second week. We were sitting by the fire, the space between us filled with tension I could almost taste. Because you're going to leave. His voice was quiet. The storm will end. You'll go back to your life. And I'll still be here. You could come with me. He laughed. A short, humorless sound. No, I couldn't. Why not? Those dark eyes met mine. Because this is where I belong. And out there, that's where you belong. We don't fit in each other's worlds, Eva. It was the first time he had said my name. I felt it like a physical touch. What if I don't want to go back? You will. You have to. It's who you are. Maybe I don't want to be who I am anymore. Everyone says that. When they're tired. When they're hurt. When they're running from something. But eventually, they remember. They go back. They always go back. I moved closer to him. close enough to see the firelight reflected in his eyes. I'm not running from anything. I'm running toward something. For the first time in my life. Eva, stop telling me what I feel. Stop predicting what I'll do. I'm here, right now, with you. That's the only thing that matters. He was still. So still. I could see the war playing out behind his eyes. The wanting. The resistance. The fear. If I let you in, he said slowly, I won't survive when you leave. Then don't let me leave. I kissed him. And after a moment of hesitation, he kissed me back. That night was unlike anything I had ever experienced. Not just physically, though physically it was transcendent, but emotionally, spiritually, something I didn't even have words for. He touched me like I was precious, like I was something to be savored, not conquered. Like every inch of my skin held secrets he wanted to spend a lifetime discovering. I had been with men before. Rushed encounters between meetings. Efficient transactions between two busy people. Never this. Never slow. Never sacred. Never so completely, devastatingly, present. Afterward, we lay tangled together by the fire. His fingers tracing patterns on my back. My head resting on his chest. Listening to his heartbeat. That was... I couldn't finish the sentence. There were no words. He kissed my forehead. I know. The next 2 weeks were the best of my life. I say that without exaggeration. Without qualification. Without any of the careful hedging I usually applied to emotional statements. They were simply, completely, the best. We fell into a rhythm. Waking together. Working together. Existing together in a way I had never existed with another person. He taught me how to build a fire that would last through the night. How to track animals in the snow. How to read the weather in the clouds. I taught him nothing. Because everything I knew, corporate law, merger strategies, negotiation tactics, was useless here. And I discovered, to my surprise, that I didn't mind. I didn't miss it. Any of it. We talked more now. Not constantly. He would never be a man of many words, but more. He told me about growing up in the mountains. About a life that had gone wrong in ways he wouldn't fully explain. About choosing this exile, this solitude, as a kind of penance or protection or both. I told him about my mother. About the pressure and the expectations and the relentless drive. About building a life that looked perfect from the outside and felt empty from within. I didn't know I was unhappy, I admitted one night. Until I came here. Until you. He pulled me closer. Maybe you weren't unhappy. Maybe you were just incomplete. Is that different? I think so. Unhappiness knows what it's missing. Incompleteness doesn't even know what to look for. I thought about that. About all the years I had spent filling my life with achievements. Never realizing that what I was missing couldn't be achieved. It could only be felt. Toward the end of the 3rd week, the snow began to ease. I noticed it first. The sunlight lasting longer. The wind losing its bite. The world outside the window starting to look less hostile. I didn't mention it. Neither did he. We both knew what it meant. But we didn't talk about it. Not yet. Instead, we held each other tighter. Made love more urgently. Pretended that time wasn't moving. That decisions didn't have to be made. That this bubble we had created could last forever. But bubbles always burst. That's what they do. By the 4th week, the path down the mountain was passable. He told me at breakfast. Casually. Like it wasn't the most devastating news I had ever received. The storm's over. You could leave now. If you wanted. I stared at him. Do you want me to leave? I want you to do what's right for you. That's not an answer. He looked at me. Those dark eyes, now so familiar, so beloved, filled with something that looked like grief. I want you to stay. I want you to stay forever. But I can't ask you to do that. You have a life out there. People who need you. A career you've spent your whole existence building. None of that matters anymore. It does. You just can't see it right now. But you will. As soon as you go back, you'll remember why you built it. You'll remember who you are. What if I don't want to remember? He reached across the table, took my hand. Then stay. But if you go, if you leave this mountain, you won't come back. You won't be able to find your way. And even if you could, the person who returns won't be the person who left. The world will change you. It always does. You don't know that. I know it better than anyone. I spent 3 days wrestling with the decision. 3 days of walking through the snow. 3 days of lying awake while he slept beside me. 3 days of imagining 2 different futures. In one, I stayed, gave up everything I had built. Learned to live in this cabin, in this silence, with this man. Let go of ambition, achievement, everything I had been taught to value. In the other, I went back, tied up loose ends, made arrangements, then returned. With enough money to last a lifetime. With nothing left to prove. With freedom I had never allowed myself to have. It seemed so reasonable. Go back. Settle things. Return. Why couldn't I do both? Why did it have to be all or nothing? On the morning of the 4th day, I made my decision. I need to go back. He was standing at the window, watching the sunrise. He didn't turn around. I know. People are looking for me. My mother, she must be terrified. My firm, my clients. You don't have to explain. I want to explain. I want you to understand. I moved to stand beside him. Took his hand. I'm not leaving you. I'm going back to end things. To wrap up my life there. And then I'm coming back. To you. To this. Forever. He finally looked at me. His expression was unreadable. If you leave this mountain, you won't come back. I will. You won't. The world will remind you of who you were. It will pull you back. It always does. I'm not like other people. Everyone thinks that. Until they're not. I felt frustration rising in my chest. So what? You want me to just abandon everything? Never see my mother again? Never resolve anything? I'm not telling you what to do. I'm telling you what will happen. You don't know the future. I know people. He turned to face me fully. Eva, I love you. I didn't think I could anymore, but I do. And because I love you, I'm telling you the truth. If you walk down this mountain, some part of you will stay there. In that world. With those people. And the part that comes back, if it comes back at all, won't be enough. That's not fair. It's not about fair. It's about real. We argued. We made love. We argued again. And finally, exhausted. I said the words I couldn't take back. I'm going. I love you. And I will come back. He was quiet for a long moment. Then he nodded. I'll take you to the nearest town. It's a 2-day walk from here. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. The walk down the mountain was brutal. Not because of the physical difficulty, though my still healing body protested every step. But because of what we weren't saying. He walked ahead of me. Silent. Focused. Only speaking to warn me of obstacles or difficult terrain. At night, we held each other in the small tent he had brought. But we didn't talk. There was nothing left to say. Everything had already been said. And neither of us believed the other. On the afternoon of the 2nd day, we reached the edge of the forest. Below us, a small town. Smoke rising from chimneys. Cars moving on distant roads. Civilization. The world I had left behind. This is as far as I go. I turned to face him. What? I don't. I can't go down there. You understand. I didn't understand. But I also didn't push. How will I find my way back? He pulled a piece of paper from his pocket. Handed it to me. Follow these directions. From the town. They'll bring you to the trailhead. The rest, you'll have to remember. I looked at the paper. Simple instructions. Landmarks. Distances. I'll memorize them. I know you will. We stood there, looking at each other. The wind blowing between us. I love you, I said. I love you too. I'll be back. As soon as I can. He reached out, touched my face, ran his thumb along my cheekbone. Goodbye, Eva. Not see you soon. Not until we meet again. Goodbye. Like he already knew. I walked down the mountain alone. Every few steps, I looked back. He stood at the edge of the forest, watching, getting smaller and smaller as the distance grew. Until finally, I rounded a bend, and he was gone. The town was called Miller's Creek. Population 300. One gas station. One diner. One small motel where I rented a room and made phone calls that should have been made a month ago. My mother was hysterical, then furious, then hysterical again. They searched for you. For weeks. They found your car. They thought you were dead. I'm sorry, Mama. I'm so sorry. Where were you? What happened? I told her a version of the truth. I was rescued. I was healing. I was coming home. The rest, I kept to myself. How could I explain? How could I tell her that everything she had sacrificed for, everything she had pushed me toward, I was planning to give up? For a man I couldn't name? For a life she couldn't comprehend? Come home, she said. Come home right now. I'm on my way. The drive back to the city took 8 hours. I spent every minute planning. How to resign from the firm. How to liquidate my investments. How to tie up every loose end so I could leave cleanly. Completely. Forever. I gave myself 2 weeks. Maybe 3. Just enough time to handle everything that needed handling. And then I would go back. Back to the mountain. Back to the cabin. Back to him. But the city had other plans. The moment I walked into my office, everything changed. The firm was in chaos. Cases had been neglected. Clients were threatening to leave. The deal I had been driving to handle, the one in the mountain town, had fallen apart completely. We need you, Eva. My senior partners, the men who had made me, looking at me with desperation I had never seen before. The firm needs you. We can't do this without you. I wanted to say no. I meant to say no. But the words wouldn't come. Because this was who I was. This was who I had always been. The problem solver. The crisis handler. The one who never walked away from a challenge. Give me a week, I said. 1 week. Then we'll talk. 1 week became 2. I told myself it was necessary. That I couldn't leave things in disarray. That people were depending on me. But somewhere beneath the excuses, I felt the truth stirring. The world was pulling me back. Just like he said it would. 2 weeks became a month. I found a rhythm. Work, home, sleep, repeat. The same rhythm I had lived in for years. The same pattern I had sworn to break. I thought about him constantly. In meetings, I would drift. Remember the feeling of his hands on my skin, the sound of his voice in the darkness, the peace I had felt, the completeness, in that tiny cabin. I would pull out the paper he had given me, read the directions, trace the landmarks with my finger. Soon, I would tell myself, soon I'll go back. Just one more case. One more crisis. One more obligation. 2 months went by. Then 3. Each day, I promised myself I would leave tomorrow. Each tomorrow, something else demanded my attention. A merger that couldn't fail. A client who needed hand-holding. A mother who was getting older and needed me closer. I started to forget what his face looked like. The exact shade of his eyes. The precise timbre of his voice. He was becoming a dream. A beautiful, fading dream. 6 months after I left the mountain, I woke up screaming. Not from a nightmare. From a realization. I had waited too long. I had let him slip away. I had done exactly what he said I would do. I threw off the covers. Grabbed the paper with his directions. Booked the first flight I could find. I would go back. Today. Now. Before it was too late. Before I lost him forever. Miller's Creek looked exactly as I remembered it. Small. Quiet. Surrounded by mountains that suddenly seemed impossibly vast. I stood in the middle of the town, holding my paper, looking at the peaks, and felt the first stirring of panic. The directions made no sense. Turn left at the split pine. Walk north until you reach the frozen creek. Follow the deer trail for 3 miles. I didn't know north from south. I didn't know a split pine from any other tree. I had no idea how to measure 3 miles in wilderness terrain. I needed more information. I needed his name. And that's when I realized. I had never asked. I went to the diner. Ordered coffee I didn't want. Tried to describe him to the waitress. Tall. Dark hair. Lives alone in the mountains. Late 30s, maybe. She looked at me like I was crazy. Honey, there's a lot of folks who fit that description. You got a name. I opened my mouth. Closed it. Shook my head. Could be anyone, she said. Could be nobody. Those mountains, people disappear into them all the time. Don't always come out. I spent 3 days asking questions. The gas station attendant. The motel owner. The old men who gathered at the general store. Nobody knew who I was talking about. Or if they did, they weren't saying. Folks come up here to get lost, one of them told me. We respect that. Don't go asking too many questions about people who don't want to be found. On the 4th day, I hiked. I took his directions and tried to follow them. Walked until my legs gave out. Searched for landmarks I couldn't identify. Called out into the empty forest, knowing he wouldn't answer, knowing I was lost, knowing I had done this to myself. I made it back to town as the sun was setting. Exhausted. Defeated. More alone than I had ever been in my life. And now, here I am. Standing in a coffee shop in Miller's Creek. Staring at mountains I cannot navigate. Searching for a man I cannot name. Wondering if I was just offered my only chance at happiness and blew it. The barista is watching me. Young. Curious. Probably wondering why a woman in expensive clothes is crying into a cup of cold coffee. You okay, ma'am? I laugh. A wet, broken sound. No. I'm not okay. I'm very far from okay. Is there someone I can call? No. There's no one to call. The person I need. I can't find him. I don't even know his name. She tilts her head. That's sad. Yes, it is. But maybe. She hesitates. Maybe what? Maybe if he wanted to be found, he would be. And maybe if he doesn't, there's nothing you can do about it. Some people choose to disappear. And when they do, they're gone. Even if they're still out there somewhere. I stare at her. This girl who couldn't be more than 20. Dispensing wisdom I should have understood months ago. You're right, I whisper. I know. She goes back to cleaning the counter. And I go back to staring at the mountains. What do I do now? That's the question that circles in my mind. Hour after hour. Day after day. I can't go back to my old life. Not after this. Not after knowing what I gave up. But I can't stay here either. Wandering the streets of a town that doesn't know me. Searching for a man who doesn't want to be found. Somewhere on that mountain, he's going about his day. Building fires. Checking traps. Living the life he chose. Does he think about me? Does he miss me? Or has he already accepted what he predicted from the beginning? That I wouldn't come back. That the world would change me. That I would become, once again, the person I was before I found him. The truth is, he was right about everything. The moment I walked down that mountain, something shifted. The world pulled me back. My obligations. My identity. My carefully constructed self. I told myself I was going back. I believed it. But believing isn't the same as doing. And wanting isn't the same as choosing. I book a room at the motel. Indefinitely. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what comes next. But I can't leave. Not yet. Not while there's still some chance, however small, that I might find my way back to him. Every day. I hike. I follow his directions as best I can. I learn to read the forest. The way the moss grows on the north side of trees. The way animal trails wind through the underbrush. The way the mountains shift and change depending on where you stand. I don't find his cabin. But I find something else. Myself. The woman I was becoming in that month of silence and snow. The woman I lost when I went back to the city. She's still here. Buried under layers of ambition and obligation. Waiting to be excavated. Months pass. I stop working. I stop checking my phone. I stop being the person everyone expected me to be. I rent a small house on the edge of town. Get a job at the local library. Learn to exist without the constant pursuit of more. It's not the life I imagined. Not the life I planned. But it's a life. A real one. Lived on my own terms. Some nights, I dream about him. About the cabin. About the fire. About the feeling of being complete. I wake up reaching for him. And find only empty space. 1 year later, I'm sitting on my porch. Watching the sunset paint the mountains pink and gold. Thinking about nothing. Everything. And then, footsteps. I look up. A figure is walking toward me. Tall. Broad-shouldered. Moving with the certainty of someone who knows these mountains intimately. My heart stops. Restarts. Stops again. He steps into the light. Those dark eyes. That weathered face. That half-smile I had convinced myself I would never see again. You stayed, he says. I couldn't leave. I know. I've been watching. Watching. From the forest. From the edges. Making sure you were okay. I stand up. My legs are shaking. You've been here? This whole time? Why didn't you? I needed to know if you would stay. Not for me. For you. I needed to know if you could build a life here. A real one. Without the cabin being an escape. Without me being a fantasy. And now? He steps closer. Close enough to touch. Now I know. I reach for him. And he reaches for me. And we hold each other on my small porch, in this small town, at the edge of mountains that no longer feel so vast. I never asked your name, I whisper. He laughs. That rare, beautiful sound. I know. I wondered when you'd notice. Tell me. He pulls back. Looks into my eyes. Thomas. My name is Thomas. Thomas. I say it like a prayer. Like a promise. Like the beginning of everything. I love you, Thomas. I love you too, Eva. I'm not going anywhere. I know. He kisses me. And the mountains, silent witnesses to everything we've been through, seem to sigh with relief. I don't know what the future holds. I don't know if we'll return to the cabin or build something new. I don't know if I'll ever fully escape the person I used to be. But I know this. I was given a second chance. A chance I didn't deserve. A chance I almost wasted. And this time, I won't let go. My name is Eva Castillo. I am 33 years old. I am no longer a senior partner at a prestigious law firm. I am no longer defined by my achievements or my ambitions. I am simply, finally, complete. And that is enough. More than enough. Everything.